Hi everyone, my name is Ian Ruddell and I am a trans man, and no, I do not normally introduce myself like that on the street. So if you do see me walking around town, don't say, hey trans dude, just dude is fine. Never bro, also. So I've spent the last 5 or 6 years of my life doing different educational events through Stonewall Alliance in Chico, California. That's a center that's focusing on suicide prevention and community building and education. So what I would do is go to police academies, health hospitals with nursing students and social workers, and K through 12 schools, and do educational events and trainings for them. One of the most impactful trainings that I feel that I've done is just sitting up on a table and doing a common Q&A with college students. So what I'm going to do today is share a little bit of my story through those questions that people ask me, hopefully throw in some jokes and educate you. It is my goal for you to finally know a trans person and to treat us with the respect and dignity that we deserve. Thanks. So the first questions usually have to do with the way that I look. Because looking at me, you would not know that I was born and assigned the female sex and associated gender at birth. Well, testosterone is one hell of a drug. So I've been on testosterone since January 18th of 2013, which puts me at almost 5 years on testosterone, and I've had the beard for about a year. It's not like one shot, boom, you're done, okay? I take 1 shot of testosterone every week for the rest of my life. But I'm on peer concordant hormone therapy. If I was 13 years old, I would not be on the same amount of testosterone that I'm on today, and when I'm 80, I will not be on the same amount of testosterone as I am today. Otherwise, I'd be baby or Grandpa Hulk, right? Now, when you start taking testosterone, you go through puberty and menopause at the same time. So I'm lucky to have friends today. Thank you for my support system out there. But it's like being a 15-year-old boy and a 6-year-old woman emotionally at the same time. That levels off eventually, okay, and so does everything else. My voice has changed, my facial hair has grown, and if you grow it here, you grow it everywhere. My body has changed quite a bit. I now have more muscle and less of a butt, more of a gut, all right? I gained about 50 pounds on testosterone. I was 108 when I started. What changes have you noticed? Well, I just mentioned half of those, but something that I think is really important to note also is male privilege. I went from living my life perceived as a woman to now living my life as a man, and there are some drastic changes there. People take what I have to say with more confidence. Folks don't interrupt me when I'm speaking. I've already been paid more for the same job that I did as a woman. I don't fear for my safety walking down the street, and I know that I can protect myself. I am still not a fan of spiders, though. I also didn't get any taller. Don't tell the DMV, but I'm actually 5'6". I put lifts in my shoes. What does transition consist of? Well, there are 4 different parts of transition, at least for me. My experience is different than anyone else's because it is mine alone. But I went through a personal transition. That's when I came out to myself, realized my identity, and realized that I needed to transition in order to live a full and happy life. So that was my personal transition. Social transition is when you tell people that you want to start going by the name that you identify with and the pronouns you identify with. So for me, I came out as Ian with he, him pronouns. The next part, for anyone, it's going to be different, but it's your physical transition. It could just be the way that you carry yourself, the demeanor, the way you interact with other people. It could be your clothes. It could also be surgeries and hormones. When people ask me if I've had the surgery, I say, yes, I've had an appendectomy, and it did save my life. You shouldn't be asking trans people what surgeries they have and have not had. But for your information, I put myself out here today. I have had top surgery, which is a bilateral double mastectomy and a masculinization of the nipples. Prior to having top surgery, I was wearing a binder, which is like wearing 6 sports bras at once to keep my chest concealed and for me to be comfortable. I had bruised ribs, bronchitis, and back problems because of that binder, and I just didn't feel like my body was congruent with my identity. So I did have top surgery. Now, there's another part of transition here that a lot of people don't think about, and that is the legal transition. When I came out in 2012, 2013, I had to change my name and gender marker. And this was before the court system said that you didn't have to post your name change in the newspaper in order to have it approved. So I had to post my name in the newspaper in case anyone wanted to contest my transition and show up at court. I also had to legally change my gender through the court system, which is no longer a law today. So now, in California, you can just change your name by showing up at court, and you don't have to post it in the newspaper, and you don't have to list that you are changing your gender as well. So along with that, there is your birth certificate, your passport, all of your credit cards, tons of student loans in my case, your car, anything else that could have your name on it, you have to now contact them and show them legal documentation that you have changed your name and gender marker. And not all states are as accepting as California in the way that we go about changing those markers. Some states, you can't get a new birth certificate. Luckily, in California, they don't just redact the old information, they actually issue you a new birth certificate, but there's this weird little part where it says the date of issue, and that's 27 years after the date that it was crafted. So that's an interesting point. How did your family react? There's a cute story that I like to tell about my 93-year-old grandma, Billy. She grew up in the desert and is quite conservative, but she's got all the love in her heart for her grandchildren. So I sat her down, and she was with her sister, Aunt Skookie, and I told them that I was going to be living my life as a man. First thing Aunt Skookie does is ask if I'm like Chaz Bono, and I kind of chuckle and I say, yeah, I've got a little bit better dance moves, though. So that kind of broke the ice. Sorry, Chaz. Grandma Billy says to me, you are going to live a very, very, very long life. You might as well do it as happily as possible. And that is probably the best word of advice that I've gotten from anyone, especially from someone that's not educated on what it means to be transgender and what struggles trans people go through. I do want to mention that 50% of trans people have attempted or succeeded at suicide in their life. That is a huge number of us. On top of that, 1 out of 12 trans women will be murdered in her lifetime. There are about 1.4 million trans people in the United States. So when you think about that, that's 750,000 people that are struggling with or dying by suicide. So not only is it important for me to make jokes and have you laugh at my experiences, it's also important for you to identify with me as a person. So the next time you see a trans person, you stand up and say something if they're being discriminated against. We need your support, and we need you to be allies. Now, on a different note, when I called my mom and told her that I was going to be living my life as a man, she said, finally, I've been waiting for this phone call. Can I name you? And I said, sorry, Mom, you messed it up the first time. It's my turn. We did have a compromise. I let her give me my middle name, which is Joseph, and that is her father's middle name as well, so that's sweet. Is dating hard? No. But yes, it is definitely hard. That is one of those personal preferences, right? So if I'm going on a date with somebody and it's going past a mild flirtation, I'm going to tell them, hey, just so you know, I have different plumbing than you were expecting. But that is not information for anybody else to have, except for maybe your doctor, right? So I wouldn't want to be with somebody that wasn't stoked on my identity and my experience, and if they have a problem with my physical nature and my history, then I'm not going to want to be with them anyway. That brings the next question. How does your partner identify? This seems to be a confusing one for people because we often conflate gender identity, sexual orientation, and sex assigned at birth. Those are completely different categories. Your gender identity is how you feel about yourself. The sex assigned to you at birth is something that someone said about your physical body. And your attractions are how you feel about other people. Okay? I am a pansexual or queer man. That means I'm attracted to people and personalities, not genders and genitalia. I like who you are, not necessarily what you got going on. And my partner identifies as straight. I am a man, she is a woman, she is attracted to me as a man, not a lesbian. Okay? Great. What's been the most rewarding part of your transition? I used to struggle with depression. I don't deal with that anymore. I am much more confident. I am emotionally stable, which is not the case from before. And I'm living that very long, happy life that my grandma told me to. I also get to wear very nicely fitted men's clothing that didn't quite fit me before. So I'm very happy about that as well. Are you treated differently once people know? If I tell someone I'm trans, they start doing this weird thing where they stare at me a little bit longer and try to pick out the feminine characteristics that they couldn't see before. It's not gonna happen. Nothing has changed in my physical appearance since I told you, and please stop opening the door for me now. What do you want us to know? Be an ally. Educate yourselves. Don't use trans and queer people as walking, talking trans queer dictionaries. Use the Google. It's my understanding that we fear things that we do not understand, and then we vote against them or fight against them. So the more educated you are on my community, the more of an ally you are going to be, and the more likely we are going to have successful and beautiful lives. Thank you for your time.